Good morning, CUT. I have to admit that under normal circumstances, after I have done my study work and done my preparation work, done my prayer work, by the time I stand before you, I am really sort of emboldened by the Holy Spirit and prepared to share with you what God has given me to share. But on this morning, I feel deep humility. On this morning, I feel deep gratitude. Your love has disarmed me, so much so, I'm a little concerned. I got stuff on paper, but I just, so the prayer warriors, pray that God will do what we know God is able to do through the vessel that is open and receptive. But it's been 5 wonderful years. I have always counted it an honor and a privilege to assume the mantle of the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. I've never taken it for granted that you would allow me to pour into your life a vessel that is not open and prepared to be poured into. Anything that is even attempted to be poured into it is wasted if the vessel is not open to receive. And I have been astonished by your willingness to receive what God has prepared through any channel who stands before you. You are a intelligent people. You are a thinking people. You are a resourceful people. And you are a people who have been exposed to the very best of the very best. And so you don't fall for any old thing. Anybody who comes before this body had better know what they're talking about. But then you're polite. You're really polite too. You're polite. She taught us well. You're well behaved. You know how to not run anybody out on a rail. You just talk about them real good when you get to the parking lot. And I hope they never bring that person back again. They didn't do nothing for us this morning. But no, I love you. I honor the call that God placed on my life. I don't know if I ever told you the story. I was in the Navy, had been through 3 rounds of interviews with my commanding officers, and was preparing to become a dentist. Was on my way to officer candidate school. Everything was ready. The I's were dotted, the T's were crossed. and I had a dream. And in this dream, I saw myself talking to people and teaching people. And it wasn't just a couple people. There were tens of thousands as I could measure it from then. And I tried to make sense of this dream. I'm a logical type. Stuff has to make sense for me. And so I tried to make sense of the dream because my plan is to become a dentist. I don't know what God's plan is, but my plan is to become a dentist. And so I figured, well, I can just minister to people in the chair. It's a captive audience. They can't go anywhere until after I let them up. So, God, this sounds like a reasonable compromise for what I plan and for what you plan. But shortly thereafter, I knew that that plan that I had was not going to work, and it probably wasn't going to work anyway because I don't have the stomach to be in anybody's stuff like that. So we fast forward to my time in a JCI, and I had phenomenal teachers. One of my very first teachers was Fannie McCullough. And Fannie McCullough says to me, I don't know if she remembers this, we went to the Spiritist Museum. She and I were walking back to our cars, and she says to me, you know, there's something about you, there's something for you to do. Now, she didn't really know me from a can of paint. I was in her class, but, you know, I was just trying to show up to see what you all were about. I didn't really know for sure. She says, there's something about you. There's some work for you to do. And I took it with a grain of salt because now this is another person affirming what I had already seen. Matriculate through the Better Living program, and then I encounter teachers in the teacher training program. And I see 3 of my teachers from the teacher training program. I see my teacher, master teacher, Carolyn Scribner. She was one of the first to help me to understand that you can still be creative and teach principle. You don't have to deviate from principle, but you can still be creative. Another of my teachers was the Reverend Dr. Evelyn Boyd. I don't know how she is in Better Living, but in the intensive training program, she is no joke. Listen, she does not believe in potential teachers taking for granted the souls of the people that they will be teaching. And so if in her book, if you weren't a serious student, you didn't have any business in her class. And matter of fact, she would tell you that, I don't really think this is for you. She told me that. I don't really think this is for you. That's a true story. But like now I love a good challenge, right? I love a good challenge, Don. If you say something is not for me and I think it's for me, then I step up to the challenge. So what she was doing, I believe, through the spirit of intuition in her, was motivating me in a way that the material wasn't. See, the challenge will motivate me even if the material wasn't. I can get the material, but when you tell me you can't do it, well, now we got to find out whether I can or can't. So thank you, Mother, for your motivation. Thank you for your teaching. Thank you for helping me to understand the seriousness of this work that we do. You don't come here for games and tricks. You come here to learn how to live better, how to be better, how to unpack the greatness that is within your soul so that you can be and do all that God created you to be and do. So I got the lesson, Mother. I got the lesson. Another of my teachers was the teacher. We refer to her affectionately as the teacher of teachers. And this is the Reverend Dr. Helen Carey. Before even being in intensive, the Men Expressing Christ, I believe, Doc, had a breakfast. And at this breakfast, it was after service. Men Expressing Christ had a breakfast, and I was kind of still a new jack to the community. And at this breakfast, I got my wires mixed up. I came in formal attire. Everybody else was in like suit and tie, and I was in a tuxedo. Yeah. And so I walked in the room and saw everybody else in suit and tie, and I was in a tuxedo. And so I sat at the table closest to the door near the exit. And David Atkins and Jacqueline Atkins sat at that table. And then Joe Hill, who is a member of the family, came to me before they sat at the table. And he said, "You sitting all the way back here by yourself? You must not have no friends." But when he said that, watch this now, when he said that, I started to just sort of ease up from the chair because I was already thinking about it. I'm like, I'm a little overdressed. This might not be my event. I'm already close to the exit. If I leave, nobody will miss me, and I can just go ahead and get on with the rest of my day, and these wonderful people can have their lunch. But it was at this event where I had an opportunity to stand up and just share a couple of words about my story and what I had been through. And it was at that luncheon where the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman said to the Reverend Dr. Helen Carey, "I want you to get that boy and work with that boy." So watch this now, watch this now. Everything within me is saying leave. But there is a blessing and a work assignment in the midst of my looking like a misfit among the people that I would eventually come to lead. See, the chief cornerstone, they call it in the scripture. So sometimes you got to be willing to sit through the discomfort. You got to be willing to sit through the odd stares. You got to be willing to sit through the jokes about you, because one day the joke won't be about you. The joke won't be on you. One day you will be the joker if you know how to play your cards right. So the Reverend Dr. Helen Carey gets a hold of me. And she starts to work with me. Now you can't be a part of Reverend Carey's posse without being loyal. She demands loyalty. She demands loyalty. Now she might stick you a couple times, but she demands loyalty. I told you, you disarmed me. Now if you don't want me to be honest, don't disarm me. Don't put that kind of music under me. My legs were shaking. That's the first time I've been up here and my legs were shaking in the chair. But Reverend Carey took me under her wings, and she taught me the CUT way. And she poured her mind and her heart and her work ethic into me. Reverend Carey, stand up. I don't know anybody who works harder than this woman right here. because you can't do this unless you are willing to work, right? This does not happen by accident. This does not happen by chance. This requires not only the keen insight and intelligence and skill, talent, and ability, but somebody has to labor in the vineyard. And Helen Carey taught me how to work even when I was tired. Just recently when we were working on the nominating committee together, it would be 10:30 at night and I would be ready to go home and she would be full of vim and vigor talking about, we got one more application, we can get through it. I'm like, we can get through it next time. We don't have to get through it tonight, do we? But her drive is insatiable and she's smart as a whip. So if you can, even to this point now, if you can work through the test that she put you through and get the blessings that she has for you, don't let these folks get away without pouring into your soul the richness that they have. These first and second and third rows, don't let them get away. Whenever you see any of them, whenever you see any of these folks, stand up. All of you all right here on this second and third row, first and second and third row, stand up. Stand up. Turn around. Listen, whenever you, don't sit yet. Let them see you, because I'm getting ready to give them an assignment. Whenever you see these folks, as busy as they are, working and running from one assignment to the next, you stop these jokers and you get what you need. Have them pray for you, have them talk to you, have them affirm with you, have them know for you, have them teach you a 2-minute mini sermon, have them teach you the essence of their class in 45 seconds. If you are open, they'll give it to you. I want to encourage you wherever you see them at. If I was really open enough, I'd give you their phone numbers and addresses. Wherever you see these folks at, I'm not giving you their information, don't worry about it. Wherever you see them at, grab a hold of them. Just touch the hem of the garment and let them bless you. Give it up for my ministers. As a young man from a single parent home, is my mother here? All right. As a young man from a single parent home, one of the things that was important to me was to identify one, strong examples of strong men, and two, strong examples of sound relationships. Those were two things that were important to me. And so I studied this man. He didn't know I was studying him. I would check him out, though, just to make sure that I was moving the right way and doing the right things as a man in this community. And he was and continues to be a marvelous example of what a strong man on special assignment is. Doc, thank you for your example. Thank you for your words. Thank you for always being a real cat. This is a real cat right here. To see spirituality and manhood blended in a special way. The Reverend Fred Randall understands class and excellence and principle and truth in a way that few do. God bless you for your example, my friend. When I was in 8th grade, I know I'm jumping all over the place. I'm going to take liberty today. I'm going to take liberty today. I'm going to just kick it with you today. Can I just be with you today? Is that all right? I promise I got a good lesson. I'll give it to you next week. We're going to be here next week? Do you promise not to not come because he didn't do it? He ain't do no lesson. I ain't get no principle today. You promise? It's good? We all good? So actually, when I was in 8th grade, there was this tall cat. We played basketball together. This was my man. He became my main man. And as he became my main man, it looked like he had some things going on that I didn't have going on. This is why you have to be mindful about the people who are around you and who are with you. Like, if the people who are around you don't have any more than you have, then it's going to be real difficult for them to help you to get to where it is you ought to be. But I'm checking out this young man. He seems to have his thing together, good spirit. It seems like he's grounded. And so just this one day, we go by his house, and he lived, I don't know if I should say where he lived, but he had a really nice house. And we spent the afternoon at his house, and his mother gave me a ride back home to my house. And when she asked me where I lived, I told her. So if you're familiar with the Rosenwall, is where I grew up at, low end. Yeah, make some noise for the low end. But if you're familiar with the Rosenwall, just on the north, east, I know what I'm talking about. I live there. On the northeast corner of the Rosenwall, there are what looks like 2 or 3 apartment buildings, right? The larger Rosenwall itself was really marvelous at one time. By the time I came through there, it wasn't quite as marvelous. But at the tail end of the building are 3 apartment buildings. And so when this wonderful woman dropped me off, she asked me, well, where do you live? I had to drive around out of the way from where I lived so that she could drop me off in front of these apartments where I thought it was a little bit more in line with where I had just come from. But in terms of people who have stood as an example to me and what can be done when we understand ourselves, Don and Rose Jackson have long been luminaries for me, and I honor your work and your contribution to our community and beyond. God bless you, and thank you for letting this little knucklehead in your house and for letting me hang out and see how the other half lives, because now, I don't know if you know it or not, but yeah, I'm the other half now. Yeah, I'm going to pop my collar on that right there. And so, there are 5 minutes left. I'm sure I can get all of this in 5 minutes, but I won't try. What I will say is that these 5 years that I have been blessed to have the opportunity to serve you have been fruitful. But I could not have done it without the one who ministers to me. She is the proverbial wind beneath my wings. She helps me fly when it's time to soar. She keeps me grounded when I get outside of myself. She has no qualms about telling me what it is or where it is and when she has and has not packed her bags to take a trip with me. She understands me and I understand her. She freely and willingly shares me with you. Right? Given that she and I were married before this segment of my life began, and given that my children were not used to being preachers, PKs, preachers' kids, they have been incredibly patient when I have not always been able to be to them, for them, and with them in the ways that they have become accustomed to me being. It takes a great deal of sacrifice to take care of this many families. Sometimes I have to leave my family to come take care of your family. And I'm not complaining, it's all good. It comes with the territory, as they say. But she is the real rock star. Honey, now here is what I love about our culture, the CUT culture. It's a culture of correction. So when you don't do stuff right, folks around here tell you that you did that wrong and you need to do it right next time. I have someone who said to me, the next time you bring her up on the platform, you better put something in her hands. Don't just bring her up here and send her back down empty-handed. So well, I have it for you later. You weren't supposed to. I was actually supposed to be doing a lesson right in through here, so I don't have it for you at this point. But I got something for her, and you'll be able to see it. I also had someone say to me, whenever she's in the place and you in the place with her and you're doing something, you make sure you acknowledge her. You don't just have her sitting there and you don't acknowledge her. Now, these folks don't play. They want you to do it right. So I got that, and so I just want to say to you, she's such a ham, huh? Well, I have to make something up. I didn't have nothing.
Okay, well, I'll see you later. Okay, I'll let you finish your
Okay, but I love you.
I love you, sir.
All right, so I'll see you in a bit. All right. It's 9:45. That's right, 12:45. What's it, 11:45? I told you it messed me up this morning. It's something different working with me this morning. Huh? So before I go, and we celebrate me some more, they can't have a party for you and you don't dance. I want to just thank and acknowledge everyone who serves and gives and participates and attends and makes things happen in this community of faith. Each and every one of you are incredibly important to what we do. It can't be done without you. So wherever you serve at, wherever you volunteer at, from the parking lot to the pulpit, from the board of directors to the Sunday school teachers, each and every one of you continue to make an indelible mark on the work that this church is doing and that this world so desperately needs. The world needs to hear from us. We have a message that can take a young man with no sense of self, but a good heart, and help him to be clear about his purpose, and help him to step courageously into his calling. And if it can do it for me, it can do it for anybody. I am special, but I'm not that special. Special in the sense that if it can happen for me, it can happen for anybody. If one person can be healed, 1,000 can. If one person can be prospered, 1,000,000 can. And so the world has to hear from you. We have a light, and we can't hide it under a basket. We're working on some powerful initiatives right now that are intended to reach where this message deserves to go. And so, thank you. Thank you for all that you are. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for all that you give. Thank you for all that you share. Thank you for all whom you bring. Thank you for all whom you touch. Thank you for being the living, breathing, shining example of Christ at work. I love you, CUT, and I am convinced that God is not done, and the best is yet to come. God bless you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting up with me and my off lesson today. But on next week, I'm going to be on fire, and we're going to turn this place out with the truth. God bless you.